Let's talk about Storm. Okay, I was beating around the bush a little bit here, but I have heard, and I don't know if you've noticed, I've heard something about Storm, but I don't know if you've noticed in game, and I'm 90% sure this is the case, that she has a new standing pose. I'm pretty sure that she did not, in her regular costume, that she does a little thing. Maybe I just missed it. Maybe you saw it like that. I'm pretty sure she didn't do that before. I'm pretty sure she just had a base standing pose, and she just floated in the air like that. Now, I did a video about maybe 2 weeks ago now where I talked about a variety of different mutant characters, and they got file updates, things like that. A lot of back end kind of graphical updates, things, and I think I pointed out Cable and a few other characters as well. But this is new-ish. I don't know how long it's been here, but there is some other things that I have heard. But there was a lot of back end changes to some of the mutant characters, and their poses. And now, what does this mean? So, for those of you who like don't always follow month to month about what goes on in Marvel Strike Force, usually when they do these sort of pose changes, it follows a rework later, like sometimes a fair bit later, like 3 to 6 months or more, or like so characters like Black Widow, Iron Man. There might be others. Honestly, that's the one I know for the most part. Like for sure, like they get the pose change, and later on they got an update. Black Widow had that with Infestation. Iron Man had that with Illuminati. That they had changes to their character files. When you just stand there and look at them, they did different things. And so that's why I was talking about the X-Men, because there was also one. Cable's not actually under the X-Men umbrella with the trait, but I had some back end updates to Cable as well, and I thought that there was some in-game changes, but I actually didn't see anything, so that was a little bit unfortunate. So I'm not sure what ended up happening there. But I'm almost certain, and from what I heard, according to my source, that Storm will actually see some action. A lot of people were hoping that maybe Storm was going to join the Astral team. I don't know, connection to uh, the Shadow King, essentially. I think a lot there were some comments in my videos where people were hoping that Storm was going to see some action for Astral, but unfortunately, she did not. But I was digging around on so I don't know in what form this is going to take. At this time, I don't know what form her rework is going to take. And that's why I was kind of looking around a little bit. And I have actually read some of the more recent comics runs, especially in the last 2 years, anyways, of the Krakoa era. There's a few things that Storm has been involved in lately where maybe this could be a thing. I didn't open all the tabs. I want to get to her part with the affiliation. So there was one thing there's that, but it's more like this. So I want to start here at the Quiet Council of Krakoa. So for those of you who haven't been reading the comics over the last maybe 3 years now, oops, I fucked that up. The Quiet Council of Krakoa is basically a group of, well, you can see that honestly a lot of them are right there in the photo. They're like really big figurehead characters in the mutant community who are essentially leading Krakoa. And this is a pretty big group of characters, and some of them are in the game and some of them are not. But we do have Emma Frost, obviously. She's not going to be on there. But there's other characters in here. There's Professor X. Probably not, right? Because he's going to be DD, I don't know, 9, 10, or whatever the hell's going on there. We do have Kate Pride. Like, so this is like a different version of, I would say a different version of what we have in the game right now. This is like her Marauder version. They could make a costume, I suppose, but they could also just make a brand new character alongside that. We have Destiny and Mystique. I believe that's Celine. And then Exodus, Hope Summers, Colossus, and there's a bunch of other characters. Mr. Sinister that was on the council as well. Nightcrawler was on the council. There was a whole host of like major mutant characters that were on the Quiet Council of Krakoa. So in terms of what reworks would be coming to Storm, it would be some sort of mutant team, right? And we're actually not far off, I think, from needing a mutant raid team or having a replacement. And Extreme X-Men is gonna be about a year old, I think, come January, right? So I think it's not far off to suggest that there would be a X-Men related mutant team coming. In what form? Again, at this point in time, I don't know. Normally reworks take the form of 2, maybe 3, depending on the team, because Illuminati saw 3 characters reworked, but at least 2. And we do have Kitty Pryde. And I don't remember how we have Colossus, right? Colossus is a tank. And in what you know, what you may or may not know of Storm's kit was that she was actually originally intended to be a raid character. She had a mechanic where she had charges. It's on her basic, actually, I think, where she could gain up to 20 charges if you had the T4. And those charges would go into typically using her alt, Storm of the Century. And it would do a shit ton of damage if you had a lot of charges. This was like 100% damage plus 90 per charged, which would go up to a total of 1800% damage. So 1900%, actually, sorry, more if you had the charges. Like crazy, 2000%, something like that. Like a crazy amount of damage if you had all the charges. Can you think about what that would look like with the new stat reworks? Could you think about that? That would be absolutely bonkers. Bonkers in the new stat era. If she just suddenly chalked this out on a wave in a raid node and did 2000, it'd be a complete wipe. They'd completely wipe the raid node. And so this would be really fun. Unfortunately, I didn't really get a big chance to. I never built her that much, like even when she was first out. So when she first came out, I believe it was not even an X-Force team. I can't quite remember, honestly. But when they released her, it was, I want to say it was prior to Uncanny X-Men, and then they added the Uncanny X-Men tag when Colossus, maybe, when some of the other characters came out. I'm pretty sure Storm came out first. And then she got reworked into the Uncanny X-Men team. I think, yeah, I could be misremembering the order, the timeline here. It was a long time ago when Storm first came out. And then they did this weird Uncanny X-Men rework last year with a few other characters, but it was like Colossus, Kitty, Phoenix, and X-23, and Jubilee. Actually, those 5 characters got reworks, but it was kind of garbage and nobody really did much with that. And so I could still see them reworking some of the other characters mentioned, like Colossus again, to a proper raid tank, because every raid, actually, you know what? Not every raid needs a tank, because Nightcrawler Extreme X-Men doesn't actually have a tank, but most raid teams do usually have a tank. So I could see them doing it that way, but most teams only see 2 reworks. And if Storm is one of those characters, I guess the other question is then, of course, what else could they be planning as far as new characters? And unfortunately, I don't know that. I saw that a lot of people in the chat kept mentioning the 12. I actually don't know much about this, so I just wanted to bring this up just because, I don't know, maybe some people will get mad if I don't. So I can't, Storm is there, Iceman's there. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Phoenix, Jean Grey, Xavier. Well, that's not going to happen. Polaris. Remember, there was also some back-end file changes to Polaris, so who knows? Maybe it is not entirely from the current X-Men tags. Maybe it is some of the other characters outside of the X-Men tags, like X-Force and X-Factor, who might be part of this as well. Polaris had a back-end change to the files. Cable's on here, the 12, and he had also something in the back-end files as well. But the only thing that I am kind of, I'm not even going to say I know for sure, but there is something that I have heard. There's a rumor that I've heard that Storm is going to be a part of this. Whatever it is, Storm is going to be a part of this, which I think is still pretty exciting because a lot of people want Storm to be good. Also, I didn't see I didn't notice the thing about her in-game animations because I had this costume running, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't do the same thing with the costume on. It's just a static pose. Right? I'm going to stare at here for another 5 seconds, but I'm pretty sure that it only happens on the base form. And that's why I never noticed it before, because I was always had this skin running. And so as long as you have this skin on, you don't notice the changes. And so, yeah, that was quite interesting. And as somebody said in the comments, I actually do have this up as well. And they called it the Brotherhood of Arakko. Arakko? Arakko? I mean, I don't know the nobody's ever said it out loud, I don't think. But anyways, this was X-Men Red. And this was the team that was basically, Storm went off-world. She went to Arakko and formed this council. The council, this was post like Swords of X in the story and things like that. And they terraformed Mars. So Red is related to Mars. They terraformed Mars as a mutant colony kind of thing. And the humans were pissed off. And they created this team of X-Men Red alongside Sunspot as well. So there are X-Men related characters on this version of the team. You can see particularly Sunspot and Magneto was on it. I think he died in the comics. Oops. And I guess Nova was, but as far as mutants go, though, I mean, there's a lot of Arakko based mutants, though I don't think they would make it into the game. So if they were to use some sort of combination of roster, I think something like the Quiet Council or the 12 would be more likely. But I don't see them taking Sunspot out of Extreme X-Men and directly plopping them into a new team. So that seems a bit sus to me, and I don't know if that has much legs to stand on. And like I said, I don't know the characters that are going to be on this. So I think there's enough characters on here that they could probably make a good team out of the Quiet Council. Because we are in the Krakoa era, right? You guys know that we're in the Krakoa era right now in Marvel Strike Force. That a lot of the story is based on Krakoa. A lot of the characters that we're getting are also Krakoa based. The Orcus team is very Krakoa era, and so I think I'm onto something. It's just I don't have the full information yet, but I did want to share with you guys that I think pretty soon. Honestly, I think winter patch. I think December, January, maximum February. I think that there is going to be a mutant team, and I think Storm is going to be related to this. But I would be curious more about, what other characters that we do have because, normally reworks are 2 or 3 characters. I'm going to say 3 just in the off chance that it's some wild, I don't know, raid epic team. I don't know if they'd ever do this, but just throwing that out there as a possibility because you never know because Marvel Strike Force and Scopely are absolutely insane these days. So I'm just throwing that out there as an option. But I would be curious what your guys' thoughts would be. Maybe not even just on the X-Men tag, but in the mutant tag, like what other characters could go alongside Storm and what would maybe make sense with some of the, the affiliations that she has recently in the last couple of years. For those of you who are pretty big into the comics, might be able to suggest some things for me or might even know a bit more than I do about this. I'd be very curious to know. But yes, I'm excited to see what happens because some of these older X-Men characters I think definitely deserve some love here. And there are some mutants down here at the bottom of my roster that I think definitely could be uplifted a bit more with a future change to a team. And so even Magic, honestly. Doesn't Magic have synergy with... Doesn't she give charges? Yeah, she does. Maybe? Well, that would be fun. That would be fun. A Magic rework with Storm to give the charge battery on spawn or something like that. Maybe on spawn, give charges to Storm or just across the board, I suppose, if they have charge mechanics. That would... Does she have that actually on... No, she has barriers. She has actually some pretty solid mechanics, actually. Like, she probably doesn't even need much of a rework, just a base stat facelift. Her kit's actually not bad. On spawn barrier, 30%. That's a lot. Wild. Maybe? Drain? Very good for rating. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we're onto something. Maybe there could be Storm and Magic with 3 new characters. I wouldn't be mad. I think that could be fun. But I know a lot of people might want Magic for a different team. But we know that this is Marvel Strike Force and this is Scopely, and they do whatever the fuck they want, right? They do whatever they want. And so just like I thought there was going to be more Mutant Psionics on Astral, this very well could not be the case this time around either. So I won't put any definites here at this point in time. But I just wanted to share this with you guys that I think what might be coming next for the mutants is going to include Storm. All right. And I think this video might be going up on YouTube maybe later. So I'll do my usual stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Well, I'm signing out.